Welcome to the new year. I'm so excited about today. We're going to talk about something great. If you're watching this video, if you're watching this channel, you probably want to buy more houses. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how can we buy more houses? What is more houses? And how can we make it to where this year you're able to buy more houses than you ever thought you could, and really pushing your goals and how to make that into a reality. So stick around with us. We'll get right into it on the other side. Hola! We got Mr. Ryan Harper.
Hey everybody, and I'm clean shaven. And before everybody's commenting about my clean shaven, my mother got me an electric shaver for Christmas. And for about 2 weeks, she's like, "Did you use your shaver yet?" So now I'm at least trying to make at least 1 week of shaving every day, just to please you. That's today's message.
Today's
please
message
your mother.
is please your mother. I thought it was use an electric razor.
Well, that too, but make sure if your mom asks you to do something, just do it.
So we are here today talking goals, talking mindset, talking how do we, it's the beginning of a new year. It's the beginning of a new us. We're actually going to please our mothers. We're going to please our wives and our children. And one of the things that we need to do as business owners is we've got to come up with goals and we've got to hit them. And I know that personally, goal setting for like ever really felt like, well, let me grab this thing of darts and throw it at the wall and be like, sure, I'm going to buy whatever this year. Or it feels like such a dart throw that I'm not even going to bother setting goals.
I think something for the past 2.5 years, 2.25 years of Grant Teach Something.
Yeah.
At least once a month we've talked about, or you've talked about, is saying you want to buy 1 million houses in a year when you've done no houses in a year. That's an extreme. You're not living in reality.
Right.
Saying you want to buy 20 houses your first year, that's still aggressive, but that's a little bit more realistic.
Yep. And
there's a difference between having realistic goals, lofty goals, and then just, are you insane way the heck out there?
Yeah. And that's actually one of the reasons why I really enjoy talking about this situation is because I think that realistic expectations is the number one difference between success and non-success in this business. I think that because really that's less about who I see as successful and more about who I see as not successful, okay? Mm-hmm. Because successful people, frankly, I see a lot of people that are successful in this business that don't necessarily have realistic goals. I mean, just to be truthful. Well, I say a lot. Actually, I don't see a lot of that. Now I take that back. But there are some. There's still successful people that have lofty goals. However, the defining, shining consistency between people who fail in this industry is people who thought something that would never happen was going to be their reality.
And I would push back a little bit on what I just said and what you just said about having those unrealistic, lofty goals. Is if you could supplement those with milestones, stepping stones to get there. Take Gary Vee, for instance. Like, he's made no secret that he wants to buy the Jets. Will he ever buy the Jets? Who knows?
Right.
But he set that goal out there. That's not his only goal. He obviously has these incremental goals to get to that point.
Yeah, I dig that. I think that it's good to have like your, one of the things that Ronnie, my partner, has really taught me in mindset, right? Because we always are learning from each other. I learn from Ryan all the time. I learn from Ronnie all the time. People learn from me. We should always be students of the game. And I really like how he looks at like property situations, right? When you're getting into a property, there's a worst case, this is probably what's going to happen, in a best case. And I think that the best case scenario is a good thing to have in mind, as long as your best case is realistic. But then the question becomes, what is realistic, right? So I do like having a lofty goal. And as a matter of fact, that is the theme of our first segment here, which is BHAG. BHAG is a phrase that was coined by Jim Collins. I love Jim Collins. Jim Collins is a phenomenal, he has written many people's business Bibles, one of which being Good to Great. I've referenced Good to Great a lot. I think that it is a great book to read. I'm not an anecdotal fan. I am a fan of stats and data. And if stats and data can be presented in such a way that makes sense to an anecdotal fan, then it's great. And I think that's something that Jim Collins does well.
Is the book Start Good and End Great?
Right, exactly.
All right.
So Jim Collins in another one, something like Thinking Big or something like that. I can't remember what it is. Coins this term BHAG, and BHAG is something that gets used a lot in business, especially by like lean manufacturing.
What
like
is
Six Sigma
BHAG? Is it,
lean.
does it mean something,
It
or is
means
it just
big, hairy, audacious goal. And you will hear some people use another word for A, but big, hairy, audacious goal. That is the BHAG. Right?
that's actually what it means?
That's actually what it means. BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. So
And
what
real
is,
quick, if on the stream, because I know the audio was kind of weird at the first, if you can hear us better, please let us know. If it's still low, maybe on Trey on the OBS, turn up the gain on that one as well. Cool.
Yeah.
Just let us know if
Yeah,
you can
let
hear
us
us.
know. We
You know
wanna
how
make
we
sure.
are. We're real estate entrepreneur types. We don't, you know. Trey knows what he's doing, but we don't.
Right. So the big, hairy, audacious goal, that's what you're looking for. I do want you to have that jet goal, right? There's no reason to not try and push yourself. And when we get into segment 3, we will talk more about figuring out if your BHAG really is something that's realistic, right? Now, one part of the BHAG,
I love just big hair. I mean, who can't? Anyways, that's just it's absurd to me, but whatever.
Yeah, you will hear many people say big hairy ass goal, but big hairy audacious goal. That is what it is, and we need that. We need our BHAG. The book is something like leading a company or a vision based company. I think is something like that. Anyway. So you'll hear that, and that is it. That is our jet. We want to create that jet. I want you guys to have a BHAG. I do not want, when I preach about being realistic, that's not to say don't try to get the jet. But what it is to say, in a conversation that I've had a lot with people over the years, and like with Ronnie, as we stay up till way too late talking about planning what our futures are looking like. One of the things just for us to realize is that every decision that you make comes with sacrifice, and you have to weigh if that sacrifice is okay with you. So for instance, if Ryan and I wanted to build a company that was going to be as big as Coca-Cola, I absolutely believe that we could do that. But the sacrifice that comes along with that is we're waking up at 3 a.m., we are completely ignoring all personal relationship, and we are only looking for, like, who is that next person that's going to advance me, and how can I get past this? And like, that sacrifice is not something that I'm willing to give. Therefore, that's not a good goal. That's not a good BHAG for us, right?
Right.
So what I'd like to ask the audience here, as we start, because I'm going to help try to extrapolate what some of this stuff will mean, and I'll try to re-prompt this every so once in a while, but please, in the comments, if you have a BHAG, what is that, okay? Now, when we talk about BHAG, I'm talking about in 3 to 5 years, what do you want your world to look like? That's kind of the BHAG, okay? So in 3 to 5 years, and that, by the way, that can be defined by yourself. When we are talking BHAG, my business model right now is based around a 7-year model. We are based around what we're going to do. What is this next 7 years going to look like? So our BHAG is actually based on, in 7 years, what do we want to have happen?
Should you have like a 1-year BHAG, a 3-year, a 5-year, a 7-year, a 10-year, or is it just like you have, and again, this is not me being stupid, but do you have that one BHAG and maybe there's a lowercase BHAG or something, another term?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with Six Sigma. So.
Yeah, so Six Sigma and lean processing doesn't necessarily, you hear a lot of people that are into the Six Sigma lean processing refer to BHAG, but right. BHAG came from Jim Collins, which I don't know if you would, anyway, that's a really good question, right? So do you have the, I want to buy a jet, and then you also have, but in 3 years I want to do this other BHAG. I think that there is a single, and for complete transparency, I literally in the parking lot bought the book that Jim Collins wrote from BHAG. Because I talk about BHAG, because all of my Lean Six Sigma people have talked about BHAG, and I was going to do it today, and I was like, you know what, I should know where that phrase, that legitimate phrase started from. I was like, oh, it's Jim Collins. I like Jim Collins. So that's why I can't remember the title of the book. I will read that book. I want to know. So I might go against some of what he says on this.
So basically what you're doing is do what all YouTube personality guru types is let's do a book review on something that you haven't even read yet.
Well, I mean, there's a lot more inside of that book, but yeah, no, I've like the CEO of Trusted World is the charity that I participate on. I've been on their board for a long time. I do recommend, please go out to trustedworld.org and check it out. See if we can always use help. But he's a big Six Sigma lean manufacturer. I know a few people, and they all reference the BHAG constantly, right? So we know what that is. I don't know what the rest of the book is. But your question was, do you have different BHAGs? And my answer is, not really. From the experience that I have had and the way that we are interpreting this, which may be different than what the actual book says, is that we have a singular BHAG because singular mission is so important. Having focus is so important. So we have a 7-year, in 7 years, this is our big, hairy, audacious goal, and then we use that information to back into what that means our 3-year looks like in our 1 year.
So as humans, we evolve, our everything changes from day to day. Does that BHAG, does it change from year to year, day to day, or does it need to be something that before you assign BHAG to, this is my BHAG, you really sit down and process map it out, not process map, but really identify what it is that you're going for and what you want? Because like, I know for me, my goals, my wants, my needs, my flavor of the day, a minute changes all the time.
Yeah.
So like even my internal BHAGs off the top of my head, they change based off the conversation I'm in, because like say the camera's off and we're talking about something, it's like, ooh, there's a company there. There's a business there. I want to start that going. Like literally, I'm over the course of the break, I've got 3 new companies in my head that I'm trying to get launched for 2020.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, so 2020, new year, new me, you're the entrepreneur. You know.
So this is a really good example of why I love your brain, right? Because Ryan, like, we kind of intentionally did not go over any of this beforehand, because Ryan does a really good job of thinking through things, and I like seeing and being able to show you guys how somebody who's very operationally minded, Ryan has a lot of visionary in him, but he's got a lot of integrator in him. He's got a lot of the ability to see where are the challenges going to be and how do I employ that. So those are questions that you need to have. Now, the answer to that I would have partially is going to be answered in segment 2. Segment 2 is going to be, when you get that number, how do we extrapolate what that BHAG means to this quarter? And then how do we say, does that make sense for this quarter? And then we kind of push back out. So the way that, so me and Ronnie just had, or Ronnie and I, if I'm going to be grammatically correct, just had our annual meeting, right? So this is why this was something that was fresh and something that I'm passionate about, and really, like right now, the annual goal thing is important, because part of what you're saying, part of what you're asking is, well, how do we make sure, actually I'm going to rephrase what you said and not what your question was, but I'm going to rephrase it into the question I think should be asked, is how do we make sure that if we see new opportunities, they contribute to our BHAG? I think that it's the same question asked in a very slightly different way with a lot of a different result.
Basically, stay in the lane of your goal.
Right, because we can only, we know, like as real estate investors, right? Like you're sending out marketing in real estate investing, and you're going to see a snowball effect from that. You see maybe people respond on the first piece. Let's say that you do a 7-piece campaign, and it's sent every 2 weeks, right? And this is just something, that you guys can glean from this too. You're going to see a lot of responses, like within the first day of somebody getting your first piece. You might not see as many responses on the second piece. You might see a lot more on the third piece. And this might take a 2-month time frame. But then you're going to get another round of people calling you 6 months after you stopped the campaign. And it's going to be a much smaller amount, but there's going to be a couple of stragglers that call you 6 months later, and there's going to be far fewer, but a couple of stragglers that call you a year later, right? You've experienced this, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you just send one campaign and stop, then you're going to get a bunch of people in the first 2 months. You're going to get a couple people 6 months later. You're going to get a couple people a year later. But if you have consistently for the last year been sending campaigns, then in any given month, you may be getting phone calls from people calling in that their first call, people calling that were from 6 months ago, people calling that were from a year ago, and that may happen every week. You've got a new group of people stacking on top of each other, and that's what I refer to as the snowball effect.
And just a quick real estate tip: if you are doing direct mail marketing and you're not putting this one sentence on every single postcard, letter, door knock, or whatever, it's simply this: keep this with your important documents. And it sounds ridiculous, it sounds absurd, but you throw that on your postcards, you throw that on your letters, people do.
Yeah.
Like, you would be surprised how many times somebody will call, well, not the times one, how many calls you'll get a year, year and a half later, just because the postcard said, keep this with your important documents.
And I love that. And so you get that
Yeah.
snowball
Random
effect,
tip.
which stacks on top of each other. So now if you've been consistently marketing to your lists for a year, you're seeing huge results in your calls because you've got a year's worth of people who have straggled to call you on top of all the new ones that you're creating. Now, if you had sent postcards for 2 months to single family, and then you sent postcards for a couple of months to trailers or mobile homes, and then you send postcards for a couple of months to apartments, you're never going to get the snowball effect on leads because they never have the opportunity to truly stack up on each other.
Yeah, and so what's the opposite of audacious, big, audacious, hairy,
Big, hairy,
goals?
audacious goals.
Is ultimate failure. And since we're talking about real marketing, let's run through a hypothetical. Say you hypothetically partner up with somebody who's going to be your financier, and you both agree that you need 3 months of financing to get something launched. And then after the first month, you dump the first month's of what you think is the first month's, hypothetically, into marketing, and then you're ready for second month drop, and then your hypothetical partner is like, oh, well, let's just see how month one goes. That company's screwed.
You're talking about me?
I'm talking about me.
Oh, okay.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the me before the you.
Just for some history too, and because we like being very honest and open
No,
about
I
things.
dropped a ton of mail for that.
Yeah, no, that's what because I was trying to remember. We Ryan and I, and again, we like to be super honest about this stuff. This is why you guys should pay attention to us, if for nothing else. Yes, we talk about like all the great things that are happening and that have happened, but also we've talked about several times, dude. We wasted about $60,000 on marketing that just like
I still think you have $850 in postage at the post. Well, probably not now.
Yeah, right.
It's probably gone.
Yeah.
I think after a year, if you don't mail, they take it back.
Yeah. So I mean, there are ways that you can mess this up, and we learned a lot from that experience.
No, that hypothetical was that was before you.
Anyway, so all that to say, we know what failure looks like, and we know what success looks like, and we're super open with letting you know, like, yeah, dude, I've failed doing that, so I would recommend you not go down that road, right? Like, I'm super open with that. I'm ready to say that. So BHAG is you've got this singular goal, and if you have that singular goal, that big, hairy, audacious goal, that one.
Yeah.
Then, and this is why we're shooting for 5 years out, for 7 years out, for 10 years out. Then what you're able to do is that gives you a guiding light for you to make sure that you are always steering towards true north. And this is a big reason why I talk so much about the importance of focus in any business book. And by the way, I'd also like for you guys to drop, if you've read an impactful business book, not a mindset book, but a business book, like Attraction or like a Good to Great or something like that, please drop that in the comments too, because we'd like to, have more books to read as well. If you've got a bit. But there is not a single business book out there that does not, a good one, that does not encourage you to have a true north and a focus that you are trying to go towards.
And the whole point of me talking about that hypothetical situation was the fact that my hypothetical partner at the time, we had a BHAG goal, and we have the mini goals in place, and the system and the structure to be in place. But then when we completely just removed, like, the ship has set sail, and then all of a sudden it's weighted down with all these weights, whatever, and then you remove all the sails, it ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And as far as me, did I just say the opposite of the big hole is utter failure? I don't know if that's true or not. It's just something I just said.
So, but it does play in that, like, you had your BHAG, but y'all didn't do step 2. Y'all didn't do, I would guess.
We went from here, and then, oh, just kidding. And then we're like, hey, what's that joke? It's step 1, do a lot of work. Step 3, profit.
Yeah, right. Like, it's
What's
like
step 2? Oh.
Yeah, Sue always has the question marks in it. Segment 2, which we're going to get into here in a couple of minutes, is going to be looking at that BHAG and seeing what steps you have to take to get to it, right? So like I said, you can open a company that's going to compete with Coca-Cola, and you could open a company that's going to get as big as Coca-Cola. I absolutely believe that. I think that there's a victimization mentality from a lot of people that are like, oh, they're too late in. We can never compete with that. I think that's bull. I think the American dream is very real. I think that you can do anything you want. It just comes with sacrifice. And what you're saying when you give excuses as to why it can't happen is you're saying, I am unwilling to make the sacrifices that it would take for that result to be true. And that could be true. And that could even be as true as the only way to get a company as big as Coca-Cola would be to sacrifice my moral and ethical like standards, right? And I am unwilling to do that, therefore I am unwilling to compete with it. But it is untrue to say that you cannot compete with a company like Coca-Cola at this stage, right?
Right.
It's an unwillingness.
You can do anything.
Yeah, you can. You really can. This was honestly, and I use Coca-Cola as an example because when I quit my job, right? So rewind back to when I decided to do real estate full time, which I would like to know. Casey says, drink a sip of coffee every time they say BHAG. Look, we don't want people to die of caffeine overdose here.
When or if it's great teacher something after dark, it's like take a shot.
When I rewind back to what made me decide to get into real estate, it was a BHAG. I just didn't realize it. Okay, my definitive thought. And I hope that everybody kind of has one of these things. And I would like to, actually, I'd like to know what these, I know I'm asking for a lot of comments for different things, but I truly want to learn you guys. I want to learn what you guys are about. One of our core values is that we're active learners. Well, it's a description of our core value. What was the thought, my thought that like made me say, no, this can get done, is at one point in time, Coca-Cola was just some dude saying, you know what? I think I can make this into something. At one point in time, Henry Ford had the thought, you know what? He was talking to a friend at a bar. Dude, I think there's a change that could be made, and I think I can do that, right? Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, all of the biggest companies you've ever heard of started with some person sitting at a dinner table and introducing it to their nearest friend or family member and saying, no, I think that there's a way to get this done. They had a BHAG in mind and they accomplished it. So my thought was everything just started with some guy saying, why not? So what keeps me from building a huge real estate portfolio?
So in an effort of community, transparency, and just curiosity, I would love to know what everybody's BHAG is. Trey, what's your 5-year, 7-year BHAG? Is that what we're going for?
Whatever your timeline is, right? So ideally, it needs to be at least 3 years.
Okay.
Most people's is going to be in the 10-year frame. Ours is 7 because I think we can get it done in 7. So whatever your longest period away that you're BHAG. Comfortable making a dedication to, what is it?
So I would like, in the comments section, what is your BHAG? What is your time frame for that BHAG? Trey, we'll love to hear from you too. What is your BHAG? And you've already said 7 years. What is yours?
So in 7 years, we are actually. Let me. I believe I can. Pull
and then
this
let
up.
me ask you a question, a secondary question while you do that. Say you do have multiple companies. Does each company have its own BHAG, and then do you have an umbrella BHAG? Or is that getting too
No, that's
granular?
Actually a really good question too. So here's what my business looks like, okay? Just to open up our reveal our what are you talking about? The
community transparency,
community and
curiosity,
transparency, that's
whatever.
So we own a parent company, okay? Myself and my partner Ronnie own a parent company. Now that parent company owns a couple of companies right now. That parent company owns a company that buys and sells real estate. And that parent company owns a company that trains people how to do it. That parent company's mission is that we buy real estate and teach people how to do it. So everything within we buy real estate and teach people how to do it fits our business model. That's where we can buy more companies, we can absorb more companies, we can merge with companies as long as it fits that. Our BHAG for that company is that within 7 years, we will be doing 1,500 houses a year and have enough revenue to hire legitimate Fortune 500 level CEO and COO to take over so that Ronnie and I step into a board of directors situation and are stepped back to still own and control the company but not have to work within the company. That's our BHAG.
So I'm going to say one of my BHAGs because I haven't clearly defined the overall goals of, so basically I have 3 In addition to Propelio, I have three companies I'm trying to get going for 2020. One is media consulting, one is event consulting, and one is opening up the note buying shop. And we've talked about that. The media and the events, that's kind of more for fun / immediate income. The note thing is for, own the world type of money.
Right.
My note, and basically I'm being vague on purpose, but it's basically institutional note brokering, whatever. But for the first 3 months, nothing. I don't expect to make a single dollar. I expect to just lose, or invest.
Well, but that's not BHAG, right? That's business plan. That
Right.
backs it,
But the BHAG eventually is within 3 years get to where we're doing 250 deals a month.
Awesome.
Because it's all about volume.
I'm glad you said that. So, and we'll finish out here. But again, I want to see y'all's BHAGs. I want to see if you've read a great business book that's made an impact to you.
I get the point. I don't think he cares about my BHAG.
No, I do. I'm about to say. I'm about to say because at first I was going to correct you, but then you said it right. Okay, and that's a weird way to say that. But in creating your BHAG, when we see your BHAG cannot be subjective. Okay, so what I thought you were about to say your BHAG was that I've opened up this company and I've opened up that company. And that's somewhat objective, but it's a little bit more subjective, right? You need objective things. So like our objective, we want to in 7 years have $4.5 million a year purely in cash flow. And then the rest of it can be transactional and those kinds of things. But purely in cash flow is $4.5 million a year. We think our BHAG is an achievable BHAG. And I'm going to show you in segment 2 and in segment 3 why we've arrived at those specific numbers. But he did say, hey, look, I want to be doing 250 transactions a month, a month, right? That is a number that you can say, did I hit this? And it is a yes or no. If you say, I want to be buying notes, that's not a yes or no necessarily. And you could be like, well, I mean, I bought some notes, so did I hit my BHAG, right? But your BHAG is, I want to be averaging 250 a month. That's a good BHAG because that is a yes or no question. Are you or are you not doing that? So that's what your BHAG should be. So I want you guys to look as far out as you are willing to go as your leadership team. If you have a partner, you need to meet with your partner. How far are you willing to push in the future, 5, 7, 10 years out, and say, pick a number out of the air right now, okay? Pick a number out of the air that says, this is where I want to be at that point in time. And when we come back from break, I'm going to instruct you guys how to change that from just being a number in the air to being a realistic goal that you can hit. And here's what's really interesting about our goal setting is that we tend to overestimate what we can do in 1 year and underestimate what we can do in 2 years. And that's an interesting little platform for us. But when you just pick a number, and you say, like for me, the 7-year mark kind of comes from because I've always said I wanted to be able to, not that I will, but be able to retire when I'm 40. I'm 33, I think, or 32. I was born in 86, whatever that is, 33. And that means in 7 years I'll be 40. That's my goal. It also coincides with this next 7-year cycle that we think we've started to hit already, so that fits in our goal, right? That's why we went with 7 is because I don't necessarily want to be working in the company after 7 years. But if you want to be running your company for 10 years, make it a 10-year goal. You got something to say before break?
Well, I was just going to say before we went to break, BHAG, Lacey, stands for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. And Philip was saying 10,000 monthly income in 5 years and 2 sub-2 deals in each quarter.
Cool.
So basically, 2 times 4, 8 sub-2 deals a year.
Yeah.
And $10,000 a month.
And we got 90 people watching.
Is that a hairy enough goal?
We'll talk about that. I love that he put those numbers, right? So I want, again, BHAG is big, hairy, audacious goal. I want you guys to give me what is your longest period you're willing to commit to it. What is the thing that you're like, that's my jet. I want to buy a jet. I want to have, my big, hairy, audacious goal is I want to be able to hire a legitimate Fortune 500 level CEO and COO. The other things, the $4.5 million in cash flow alone, the amount of houses that we're doing per year, those are kind of yes or no answers, right? Like materialized things. But my jet, Fortune 500 company CEOs are not cheap, and COOs are not cheap. But we feel like if we can set our company up to be able to afford and attract Fortune 500 level talent by that time, then that means this is generational wealth. This means not only my grandkids go to a good school, but 6 generations from now, my grandkids go to school, or, you know, 6 generations. So that's our BHAG, is Fortune 500 level CEO and COO hired in 7 years. So I want to know y'all's BHAG in as big of an area. We got 90 plus people watching. We've got like 2 commitments. So commit. Pick a number out of the air. It's literally at this point in time, pick a number out of the air. We're going to go to break. Whenever we come back, I'm going to teach you how you can look at that number that you just picked out of the air back into what that means you have to do this quarter and see if that's reasonable or not, and what kind of actions you would then have to take in order to hit your BHAG and to decide whether or not that's a sacrifice you're willing to take. Stick around and we'll get into that on the other side.
All on Grant, teach him something.
Yeah!
Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at Propelio.com.
You want to buy more houses. Here's Dar and his wife after only 2 weeks of being my mentor student. And here's Brady after paying attention to all our online videos and attending all the live Q&As. You want to buy more houses? 3 steps. Sign up at creativecashflow.com/memberships, watch all the videos, attend the live Q&As, and then send me a photo with you and your sweet, sweet new contracts. creativecashflow.com, helping you buy more houses for one low price of only
All right. Live from Arlington. So now that we've talked about BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal.
There we go.
What we want to do is we want to say, okay, in 5 years, in 7 years, in 10 years, this is the big, crazy thing that I would love to say about my life and my business. Now what we need to do is back into that number, okay? We need to take that number and extrapolate that and see what it would mean for us to get to that number, and do we think that that's realistic for this quarter, right? We're in January right now. This is a time to do annual planning. Actually, December and November are the time to do annual planning. We're a little bit late, but now is the time to set your goals for the year. And to do that, you need to know your BHAG and if you can hit that. So I just flew up to Michigan. We spent part of the reason why we did this in January versus December is that fourth quarter was our first quarter together as a partnership, me and Ronnie. And so we needed to be able to close out the quarter and do Q4 analysis as well as annual planning for the year. So we needed to close out the quarter first so we could get our numbers and analyze to use those and extrapolate out to the future. So ours was a little bit later this year, but for next year's planning, the planning needs to happen in December.
And I'm just going to skip ahead because I like to feel like I'm smart and extrapolate what you're saying. And what the segment is basically if I want to buy 5 houses a month and I know it takes 20 phone calls to get 5 appointments to buy 1 house, therefore I need 100 phone calls. And then if I know it takes $10,000 in marketing to get 100 phone, and then on and on and on and on, boom, I got my 5 houses with $10,000 in marketing. It's
beautiful.
Something like that?
Yep. All right, so on to segment 3. We'll go to break. No, that is exactly, and this is one of the reasons why I really like having somebody with the brain that Ryan has, because I want you guys to see and appreciate the thought processes. Because again, I didn't tell him really what we were doing. I said, I told him like kind of hey, we're going to do a mindset and a goal setting, throwing darts versus hitting a bullseye kind of stuff. So that you could see his thought processes of how to pull this out. That is absolutely and 100% right. The question you should ask. A good operator asks questions. A good operator says, how is this going to fail and how can I fix that? And a good operator asks the question, okay, I've got the BHAG, so does that mean I need to figure out what I need to buy, blah, 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 right? Exactly that. So, yes, so let's take somebody from here, okay? We have Philip Farmer, who said that he wants in 5 years to be making 2 sub-2s in each quarter and $10,000 in monthly income, okay? Now, the thing that we would need, Philip, to decide if we were making this our BHAG and we were building a business model around it, is we would want to say, okay, $10,000 in monthly income. That sounds like a solid number. That's a yes or no. Can you tell me, maybe not, I don't know, but can you tell me why that is not the most objective number that we could have for that? What's the flaw in saying monthly income?
Well, monthly income, we don't know, is that passive? Is that wholesales? Is that flipping? What's the average deal? Like, are you getting $1,000 per deal? Is it $500 per deal? When you do a flip, are you getting 10? Are you doing 12? So there's too many variables for that. If it's, I want 10 rentals that give me $1,000 each, or 10 owner of finances that give me $1,000 each, then there's a little bit easier way to structure that. But when it's just $10,000, well, when it's a money value, it's like, okay, that's great. I respect that. I want $10,000 passive monthly as well. But what does it take to get that?
Yeah.
And once you know what it takes to get that, then what does it take to get that widget?
Absolutely.
And then how much is that? And then it's just going down the line.
Well, and so that is how you
start.
extrapolate that number out. So that is absolutely the step that we will take to get that number. And actually Angel hit it right here. Angel Lopez hit the particular, I don't want to say flaw. Flaw is kind of a negative word, but the particular flaw I see in just saying monthly income is, well, is that gross revenue or is that net revenue, right? That is a big number difference. Do you mean you need to walk away with $10,000 a month after expenses? Or do you mean that you want your revenue to be $10,000 a month, and then you can pay for your rent and your employees and stuff out of that, right? So that, this is why these kinds of conversations are so important. Having these, I bet that there's a good amount of people that just watch this that when I stated that kind of had oh, that's a good point.
Right.
If that was an aha moment for you, can you comment like aha or light bulb or something like that?
Well, that's why when I said 10,000 rental, I was like, well, shit, I'm with Grant. He's going to point out that 10,000 rental actually means negative 200 a month.
Right, exactly.
Because of all the ACs, the toilets, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that is, so if that was an aha moment for you when we're setting revenue goals, is this a net or gross revenue, right? So Philip says he wants to net $10,000 a month. Okay. So now here's another thing that I'm going to be able to give you guys for, this is not just a mindset episode. I want you guys to fully appreciate that I am about to give you a lot of really like BHAG segment 1, there was a lot of mindset in that, right? You're just picking a number out of the air. It's very subjective, except, the only objective thing is that I told you to be objective. Right now in this segment, I'm going to give you a lot of numbers that I want you guys to write down and take note of, because they are going to be things that are very important to you understanding how business works and how you're going to be setting these goals. One of those numbers is that a normal business, like a well-oiled business, a nice operating business, in total, and if you've got data that proves me wrong on this, I would love to see that. That's totally cool. But the numbers that we are using in our operation is that we should be making a 35% profit margin. The retained earnings of the company is 35% of the gross revenue, okay? Now, when I say that the retained earnings of the company are 35%, this is another part of mindset that I need you guys to be very cognizant of. You know how I keep saying over, months and months, if not years, well, this particular phrase has been more months than years. I've been teaching the principle behind it for years, is I want to teach you guys how to build a business that buys houses for you rather than how to build a support system that causes you to keep buying houses. It's a very subtle change in mindset, but it's a big change in how operations are occurring. And what I mean by that is, ultimately, another way to say that is that when you are working on buying houses, when you are working on doing your real estate investment, what you really should be working for is growing this entity. What is your property buying company name? Your job is to make that thing huge, okay? You need to remove that entity from yourself. I know that I did not have that mindset for a long time, and I'm betting a lot of you, if you think about it, you're like, hey, I am a real estate investor who happen, but I invest through, Ronald buys houses or whatever your company is. I'm the real estate investor, and I'm doing that through this company.
And I've seen firsthand the opposite of that, where say I'm a sole owner of Harper's Company. My name is Ryan Harper, by the way. Harper's Company. And Harper's Company, the money that comes in is on the kitchen table. Well, my mindset is, well, that's my company, that's my money,
Right.
and I want to feed my family, and I want to go on vacation, and I want to do that. And if I think that first versus, oh, by the way, there's this whole support system for Harper's Company that need to get fed before my family, that's a hard mindset shift, because if I'm giving money to grant the employee or grant the support system, well, if I'm thinking that the Harper's Company on the kitchen table, well, that's money I'm taking out of my kid's mouth and putting in your mouth.
Yeah.
So you have to separate the company from your kitchen table.
Yeah.
And before it comes to your kitchen table, it goes to the boardroom first, and then there.
And the great thing that happens
If that
with
makes
that,
sense.
and Toyo, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. I'm really glad he said, aha, Grant's comment brought my head out of the clouds and into the cold, hard numbers. Yeah, absolutely, man. This is a good, but see, the cool thing is that the cold, hard numbers should freaking jazz you up, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the cool thing, right? Like, what are our goals here? Hey, I want to net $10,000 of monthly income. Well, the other thing that I would guess that Philip is saying is that I want to take home $10,000 of monthly income, right? So even in that, now what we have to say is, okay, well, if I want to take home $10,000, what does my company need to be making in order to support me taking it home? That even in and of itself is probably thinking, hey, I own this company is mine, therefore the money it makes is mine, and that's not true. And if you think about this company as a separate entity from you that you are growing, not only do you get to really exhibit that I'm helping other people attitude, which you should which you should have. I think everybody really benefits from, what can I do to help other people? If other people is a company and you happen to own that company, then you grow massively. One of the things that we did this weekend was we really sat down and figured out what's our why. And you guys need to know your why as well. The why that we really landed on is we want to grow others by growing ourselves. And I think that that is ultimately very honest, right? I've always said, I'll smack you if you tell me that you're in this business to help others, because you're not. You're in this business to help yourself. I think that that really exhibits, for us at least, the honest truth behind, look, I'm here to make a whole bunch of money.
Right.
I'm here because I love learning how to do new things and building something up. But it is, even though the meaning of I want to grow others by growing myself puts me first, right? I'm growing myself, which helps other people. From the technical, like written down standard, it puts other people first.
And real quick before I forget, the whole Harper's Company's kitchen table thing, just to circle back to that for a brief second, is if you do have the mindset of feeding your family first versus feeding the company first, grant the employee, grant the support system, will start getting annoyed that he's not being taken care of, and then all of a sudden your company is no longer company, and now it's just a kitchen table.
Well, and it's the whole Zig Ziglar thing of like, the more you help people, the better. Like, I can't remember what he says, but it's something about like, if you spend so much time helping other people, your own benefit will be way bigger than you thought it would. Now, here's how you hit your BHAG, right? So, you said you wanted $10,000. We're going to say $10,000 of net income in 5 years, 2 sub-2 deals in each quarter. Okay, so that means that average we're hitting, and we're just choosing one of these goals out of here and going with it. Again, I would really like to see, because by the way, again, we've still got a lot of people who have not committed their BHAG. I would really love to see your BHAG, because we do read these comments, and I want to make sure.
That sounds so dirty.
I want to make sure that our episodes that we give you for this next quarter or two are going to be strictly in line with what helps you guys hit your BHAG, right? If I know what your BHAG is, I know what I can give you in order to help you get there. So please drop that in there. If we want $10,000 in 5 years of net income, okay, that means if we are doing, and now let's run some numbers, right? We're going to run some quick numbers. I'm going to try and make this not, I'm going to try to make this not too number heavy, because I know that can get really heavy and boring, but let's just run some quick numbers. What I would have to do there is I would have to say, okay, I'm making $10,000 a month in net income, and we're going to use the number that Grant told me, which is that a company operates on a 35% profit margin. Therefore, what is $10,000 35% of, right? So I'm going to do $10,000. Is that divided by 0.35 that gets you that? Okay, yeah. Divided by 0.35, that means that I need to have a gross revenue every month of $28,500. There's your BHAG, I need a gross revenue of 28.5 with a 35% profit margin. You should be spending 20% of your gross revenue in marketing. Okay? There's another number. Again, we want to make this segment very actionable. I want you guys to be writing notes on things to take away from here, because these are things that you probably don't know. And I say that not like in a condescending way. I say that as a guy who's been like, whatever, 8-9 years into the business, and it's like been finding these things out 5+ years after getting in. I never knew like you should be at a 35% margin. That's awesome. That's great information. I never knew, okay, well, 20% of your income should go towards, your gross revenue should go towards marketing. I literally just learned that number this weekend from Ronnie, right? Like Ronnie's the guy that knows that kind of stuff. And literally when he said that, I looked up Coca-Cola right then, and I said, what was Coca-Cola's marketing budget? It was 19% of their revenue.
And for those that are in the wholesaling world or the flipping world or the sub-2 world, because a lot of times we JV partner with people and we have deal splits. So if the 35% profit margin, you got to take 35%, you got to put that over the side, and now you're dealing with 65%. So if you're used to paying partners 15, 20, 50, whatever percent, well, that's coming out of that 65% now. And so say you are paying 30% to somebody, now you're left with 35% to cover your marketing, your all your bills, all your housekeeping. So if you're not able to do all that, then you need to restructure how you're doing your deal splits.
Well, except for, maybe I misheard you, but that 35% profit margin is a purely retained earning by the company. That is money that does not get touched. That is money that is complete profit margin. And within the 65%, you're paying for rent. And
that's what I'm saying. Okay. So like if you have $100,000, $100,000, 100% of a deal, and if you have a JV partner on the deal, well, now you're down to 50% of the deal.
Yep.
And depending on, that's probably a different story. Anyway, but
well, no, you're right. And
you gotta. What is the squirrel thing? The acorn that away. The 35%.
Nice. So 35%, right? His BHAG was, I want to be netting $10,000 a month, and I say I'm putting words into his mouth just for purely premise sake here. That means that he wanted $10,000 of retained earnings in the company every year, or every month? Every month, once 10. That means he needs to be making $28,500 of revenue every month coming into the company. Here's some numbers that you may not have known, and that you should definitely take notes on. And I would really appreciate, again, if you would let me know that these are new numbers to you, because the other side of this thing is that if you guys all already knew this and I was the last one to the party, that's cool. If you guys did not already know this, then maybe I cycle this stuff back in like in 12 months, right? As we get more audience who may not have heard of this stuff before, like these things let me know that I'm going to be able to help people by giving them this information. 20% of your gross revenue for the company, all of the cash that ever hits your bank account, 20% of that should go towards marketing. 30% of that, your people costs should be under 30%. Commissions, salaries, all that kind of stuff should be under 30% of your gross revenue, okay? And then you have your like G&A, your general and administrative expenses, which add up to be that other 10 to 15%, and you've got a 35% margin of income. Now, when I say that 35% is profit margin, I am also saying that your salary as the owner of that company fits inside of the 65% of company expenses.
So I'm going to throw a wrench real quick, mainly because majority of our audience, well, hopefully all of our audience is flipping and wholesaling, sub-2ing, all those things. And I'm going to backstep what I was talking about earlier about the percentage of flow because again, when you do a flip, 75% minus repairs, you're trying to get 10% of a profit on a deal. So on a situation like that, you buy a house for 55, you put 20 into it, you sell it for 100, and after closing fees, you're making 10 or 12. Mm-hmm.
That's your gross revenue.
That's the gross revenue. So we're not talking about everything else.
Correct.
So out of that 12, we'll just say 10 for 3,500 needs to go to your profit. 6,500 needs to go to paying out any staffing.
Absolutely. That's a great way. Thank you for pulling that into a very practical means here. Because yeah, that's absolutely it. You do a flip and your numbers. Bought for 50, put 20 into it, sold it for 100. Maybe you walk away from the title company. The title company wires $10,000 for easy numbers for our brains,
Right.
wires $10,000 to your bank account. Of that 10, automatically pull 2, that goes back towards marketing, okay? Of that 10, your acquisitions guy, your dispositions guy, your GC, like if they're on salary, right?
Right.
All of your salaries and people costs, your VAs, your all of that should only have made up $3,000 to get that deal done, okay? So that might change your commission structures, right? You might need to understand that your commission structures need to change. And then the company, into their retained earnings, retain $3,500, and then you're putting $1,000 away towards like your phone system and your rent and all that kind of stuff. That's how you would split that up for assignment fees, for whatever. What gets deposited into your bank account goes this way. Now, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say one thing, mainly because, yes, this is a mindset-y type episode. What I think the biggest mindset Grant has been trying to, and Daniel both have been trying to push people towards, is stop thinking in terms of an individual as a real estate investor or an entrepreneur, and think in terms of you're building a business. Mm-hmm. And as a business, these are the things you need to succeed.
Absolutely. So to wrap this up, we looked at our BHAG. We had a BHAG of net income being $10,000 a month, which meant that if $10,000 is 35% of our revenue, 35% of our gross revenue, that we need to set a company up that's making $28,500 a month, okay? Now I'm gonna roll that up to $30,000. I'm just gonna say 30. So your BHAG is really $30,000 a month in revenue with a 35% profit margin. Now, if that is what you wanna be hitting in 5 years, what does that mean that you guys need to do on a monthly basis to get $30,000 deposited into your account? This is where it goes back to like, hey, I want to do 2 sub-2 deals a quarter, or what do you say, a quarter or a month? I can't remember.
Well, he upped it to 16 a year. 16
a year, so it'd be 4 a quarter, so 1 a month, or I'm sorry, basically a little bit over 1 a month. We're gonna say just for sake of well, no, would that be 3 a month? What am I doing? Am I being an idiot? 16 divided by 12. Yeah, it's a little bit over 1 a month. Okay, yeah. So let's roll that down just for easy numbers of 1 a month, okay? So that would mean that you're doing 12 a year. Now, if you have said, I want to reach my BHAG by only doing 12 a year, that means that you need your deals to be cash flowing, or the cash flow plus the like upfront fees that you will make from those sub-2s in 5 years should add up to be $30,000 a month. Now, if you're doing 1 deal a month, okay, in 5 years, and see, and I'm just spouting out the process of thinking this through so that you guys can extrapolate that to your own deal. If I need $30,000 a month in 5 years, that means in 5 years, and I'm saying I'm doing that through 1 a month of sub-2 deals, I will have done 60 sub-2 deals, right? Mm-hmm. So I will have accrued, if we average $350 in cash flow on those deals, I will have accrued $21,000 a month of gross revenue in cash flow, right? Which means that my 1 deal that I am doing with sub-2 must must make cash hit my bank account of $9,000 on that 1 sub-2 deal. That's not entirely unreasonable, right? That is not entirely unreasonable, but it might change how you're doing that deal, because now you understand I'm not hitting my goal unless I am getting $9,000 up front from my sub-2 deals, right? Or the other answer is, which is what I would really encourage you to do, because I'm kind of, with the way that the market is, the way that we look at our sub-2 wraps is we basically say, look, if I break even on my down payment, that's a win. Because that means that my down payment paid for all of the stuff that needed to happen for that deal, the agent fees, the closing cost, if there's points involved in my financing, all that kind of stuff. It paid for itself, and then I've got cash flow of $350 a month going on for the rest of the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years. That's a win, right? So I would not necessarily say that it would be the best thing to base your cash revenue goal on a sub-2 deal. So with that particular goal in mind, I would say you need to add a wholesale deal in there. that means that your BHAG is really, I'm doing a sub 2 deal a month, and I'm doing one wholesale deal a month that nets me $12,000, right? Or that nets me $9,000. Or I'm sorry, yeah, the wholesale assignment fee is $9,000. Okay, so that might be a way that we very quickly just solved your BHAG and saying, hey, if this is what I want in 5 years, that means that I will have needed to do this, and that doesn't necessarily hit it. So I got to supplement that, and I'm going to supplement it with a wholesale deal that gets me $9,000.
I think a good wrap is analogy is like, it's okay to live in the clouds if you're prepared to build the structure to get there.
I want you to live in the clouds.
Yeah.
I want you to have a cloud goal, but I want you to know what the sacrifice is to get there. And that's where why I keep saying realistic goal is not limit your goal. It's be realistic about what it's going to take you to get to that goal, right?
That's amazing.
So what we want to do is we want to look at your BHAG, and with him, we just pulled back. That's a pretty fairly easy one, right? But here's where the challenge arises. And I'm going to pose this question to you. We could talk about this particular, like getting back and forth for way longer than we have time on this segment. So I'm just going to pose the questions to you and let you guys take this off as business owners for yourself. If his goal is to buy one deal a month, average, by 5 years, okay, that's cool. That works, okay? But his goal was also, I need to be gross revenue of $28 or $30,000 a month. So there's a lot of ways to get there, and this is why you're a business owner. Is I gave you one of the 70 trillion ways that you could get there. One of the 70 trillion ways that you get there is that you start averaging one a month right now, and you get all the way through, and then by 5 years from now, you've gotten to a point where you're also throwing a wholesale deal in there. That's one of the 70 trillion ways. Now, what we did is we backed our way into that, and we said, if I want this here, if I start doing that now, what does that mean? Here is the part that we need to then do. Is what if his goal was, I want to be doing 3 subject to deals a year and making $90,000 in gross revenue in 5 years, and he backs up to this month in that same way. Okay, well that means that I need to be doing 3 this month. Do you really think you're going to get 3 this month and 3 next month and 3 the month after that, right? Now it's time that you've backed in and seen what one model was that could get you there to push back forward and say, okay, can I do that this month or this quarter? You really need to be looking at quarterly things. So, right? So really what it would be is, could I do that this quarter, which means that I need to buy 9 houses this quarter with subject to, and is that or is not realistic? And if not, what does that mean? So that is what we're going to get into with segment 3, where we finalize this out. We've picked our BHAG. We want huge goals. We want to buy that jet. I want to hire a Fortune 500 CEO and COO, right? What are some numbers that will be key indicators to leading me into thinking that I can do that? Set that as your BHAG. Back your way in is what we've talked with segment 2 of, if that's my BHAG, what does that mean that I need to do this quarter to get there? When we get back, we're going to talk about analyzing how you can actually back that in. And then we're going to talk about when you hit that analyzing and you say, can I or can I not do what that requires of me this quarter? Now we're going to go forward and say, if I cannot do what that hits for this quarter, it is unrealistic for me to believe that I'm going to do 9 deals this quarter. Then you say, what is the highest that I can do in this quarter, right? And start thinking in terms of that. And then how can you multiply within this plan to still hit your BHAG? So when we get back from break, we're going to talk about that analysis and how we can reapply our highest and best to still hitting our BHAG, even if we think that this quarter's goals are unreasonable for that.
And real quick, we started the segment with, I think, one of the most important things you had said, which was you and Ronnie really sitting down and analyzing and taking notes and doing that data collection of your fourth quarter performance, and using that analytics to determine what it takes to do a deal. Because I know for Philip, we're talking about 2 deals, 3 deals, 9 deals, whatever, but that's all great for living the clouds.
Yep.
But until you understand what it takes to get a deal, that's still living in the clouds. So you still have to get all the way down to how many phone calls does it take
Yep.
to get an appointment?
So let me
how
give
many
you guys a
appointments?
promise.
Boom, 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 boom.
I promise, I say. Yeah, how can I give you? I'm going to give you guys a teaser promise with that because that's very good. Stick around on the break. When we come back, I will give you the KPIs that you need to know of how much marketing needs to be sent, what your conversion rates need to be looking at, like in order to hit a goal, or I'm sorry, a deal, so that you can use that information when extrapolating out in this. So we're going to give you a lot of really good information when we get back. Stick with us.
Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at Propelio.com.
You want to buy more houses. Here's Dar and his wife after only 2 weeks of being my mentor student. And here's Brady after paying attention to all our online videos and attending all the live Q&As. You want to buy more houses? 3 steps. Sign up at creativecashflow.com/memberships, watch all the videos, attend the live Q&As, and then send me a photo with you and your sweet, sweet new contracts. creativecashflow.com, helping you buy more houses for one low price of only
All right, so segment 1, we started talking about BHAG. What is your big, hairy, audacious goal? What is the big deal thing that you want to hit in the longest amount that you're willing to push out for your company, which is a separate entity from you? What do you want that company to be doing in 5, 7, 10, 3 years? Second part was, if that's what I want to see at that point in time, how do I pull the numbers back to hit that? What does that mean that it looks like for this quarter? And do I or don't I feel like that is reasonable? In this segment, we're going to be talking about, now that we've seen those numbers, I'm going to give you some other super helpful KPIs and like percentages and things you should be looking out for that will help you to use when you are planning for 2020 and planning for hitting your BHAG to get there. Again, we want to reiterate. When I say having unrealistic goals is the number one killer of a real estate investor, it's not because their goal is too high. It's because their commitment to what it's going to take to make that goal is too low. So we want to up that. Before we go on any further, I do want to just throw a quick shout out again to Propelio.com for putting all of this stuff up together. You guys have no idea. We're here talking about the needs of an investor. Of getting to our goals. Well, one of those needs of an investor is having a good website. Being able to run comps is the crux of a real estate deal. You have to be able to get your numbers. So Propelio provides you the ability to run comps, provides you the ability to run your websites, provides you the ability to have like a CRM in there to kind of keep track of all of your leads, and how you even get those leads. It gives you downloaded lists of leads that you've got a ton of national leads to look through. So that is great. As you guys know, this whole Grant Teach Me Something episode, the series that we've done for years now, is a partnership between two companies. There's Propelio.com and there's CreativeCashflow.com. I am Grant from CreativeCashflow.com. We are here to help you buy more houses. I have a passion for buying houses and teaching people how to do it. So this is a partnership to do that. Now, CreativeCashflow.com, if you like the way that I teach and you like the creative financing methods, then you need to check us out at CreativeCashflow.com. Every Monday night, I do a live Q&A with every one of my members where I answer all of the random questions. During these GTMS episodes, we decide a topic and that's what we talk about. During the live Q&As, dude, you've got any question that has anything at all to do with real estate, even tangentially, I answer it for you, right? This weekend, on Friday, is our mastermind where Ronnie is flying in from Michigan, and he is literally, I was looking through his slideshow, he is literally giving out literally everything that we have done to get the results that we are getting over this last quarter. And I'll tell you this much as a teaser, we ran 12 campaigns for postcards last quarter, and we had 3 of them average over 9.5% return rates on postcards. We only had 2
call rates?
On callback rates, 9.5%. It was ridiculous. We had 3 above that, 9.5, 9.7,
real quick,
and a 10.8.
This is not that's stupid.
It's stupid.
Because if you could get 0.5% callback, that's stupid.
Yep.
So to get 9.5,
it's insane.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insane. And our cost per close right now is like $650 in marketing, which is just massive. I mean, I can't express to you. Ronnie is a genius. I'm not a genius on marketing. I've always said, I'll teach you how to take down every deal. I'm not going to get your phone to ring. He will get your phone to ring. So he's flying in. Friday, he's going to spend the entire day teaching people our entire marketing model, how he pulled the list, how he is marketing, what our postcards look like.
How often y'all do? Is that like a once a quarter thing?
What, the mastermind? Yeah, it's once a quarter is the mastermind. And where day one, we pour into you with something that we have recognized the entire group of the mastermind needs for their highest and best. Like, what's going to be the thing that gets everybody up to that next level? Day one, we do that. Day two, and day three, if we need it, if the size grows big enough.
And where is that going to be?
It's in Richardson, here at the Renaissance Hotel in Richardson.
For your people.
For all of our mastermind students. And we've got 2 levels of that, the accelerator and the executive, creative accelerator, creative executive. And the creative accelerator only gets to go to 1 mastermind, but it's far cheaper. Well, guys, if you sign up now, you get to go to this mastermind and get the marketing information. Check us out at creativecashflow.com/memberships. I have 2 open seats. So if somebody wants to get in, we have 2 open seats in the room that if you interview today, we could still get you in for that.
Careful, prices are going up.
Prices are going up. No, but I mean legitimately, I have a 25-seat room.
Yeah.
I got 23 people going.
So but to get back to what we were talking about, and I thought of an analogy real quick, because you're talking about having a goal and having realistic expectations to get there. That's like, the opposite of that would be like, I'm going to get fit in 2020, but I wanted to go to gym for 30 minutes once a month.
Yeah.
But you're not, or I want to lose weight, but I want to eat 3 buffets a day.
And then what we're trying to do is say, what is I want to lose weight? I want to lose weight should be, I want to lose 10 pounds, because that's a yes or no question.
Right.
And then to lose 10 pounds in a year, that means that I need to have averaged how many pounds, you know what I mean? Like under a pound a month. What am I going to do to get there? So this is, now that we've looked at that deal of $28,000 or $30,000 in gross revenue, will make me hit my $10,000 a month of net income. Do I or don't I think I can get there? Okay? Now, I think that's a pretty reasonable look. But when I talk about the analyzing side of it, you've got to also consider, do I think I can do that this quarter? Okay? What that means is we want to look in quarterly views at our business. And so what we want to do is we want to say, if we want in year 5 to be doing $30,000 and 3 deals a quarter, then if we look at this quarter, can we do 3 deals a quarter, 3 sub 2 deals a quarter this Q1? If the answer is no, which it may very well be, and it probably will be no, it probably should be no. You probably should not be able to already hit your needed, if you were to just average out what it takes to get to this BHAG, you should probably not be able to do that number this quarter, because this quarter, you haven't had time to build yet. You haven't had time to construct the kind of company that supports a BHAG in 5 years. So you should probably not be able to easily achieve the averaged number this quarter. So what that means is, if I cannot hit my averaged number this quarter, can I hit it next quarter? Okay? And the big theme of this segment is going to be the quote, why not? Now, I don't want you to say, why not? Like, well, why not? Right? Like, well, let's just do it. I want you to say, why not? Why wouldn't I be able to do that? Okay? So let's think of a good example.
And when you say why not, is this just like basically game planning all the adversities or all the stumbling blocks that we get there? Or are you talking about the why not because I don't have confidence or nobody likes me? Like,
right.
What why not are we talking about?
Exactly.
Because in my head, there's the, hey, I'm an emotional human, and my why not is a lack of confidence, emotional, blah, blah, blah. But from a business standpoint, the why not could be, well, I don't have money, I don't have the know-how, I don't know the market, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right? That's the one you need to be looking for.
Okay.
I'm not looking for why not in the, why not, let's go do this. I'm looking for the why not in the, I want in 5 years to hit a $10 million revenue.
And the why not would be, well, because there's apocalypse because of Iran and there's no houses in America anymore.
Right.
Something like that.
But really the why not would be if you extrapolate back and you say, okay, for me to hit, let's take Philip's goal since that's what we're going on, right? For me to hit $30,000 of net revenue and to be doing 1 deal a month in sub 2, that means that this quarter I'm going to have to buy 1 deal a month and put that cash flow of 350 into it and blah, blah, blah. Can I get, this quarter, can I do 3 deals? Okay. And if you say no,
Why not?
why not? Why can I not do 3 deals this
I
quarter?
have a full-time job and I don't have time.
I don't have the money to put into marketing. I don't have the money to, like, if your goal is to do like fix and flips, I don't have the money to buy the houses or the connections for the hard money. If your goal is to buy rentals, I don't have the capital to take down the deals.
And forgive me, this is for me. Like, and on
we
that,
grow others by growing ourselves.
But on a situation like that, the why not is I don't have capital. Okay, well then the opposite of that is find a JV partner, find a private capital partner, or I don't have the know-how. Well, find a mentor,
Right.
Find a training
Exactly.
program.
So
is that
this
the why not you're
it's
going
absolutely,
for?
Yeah, that's absolutely where we're going with
I
that.
don't know what I'm doing with my
So
hands.
the idea here is if we look at the principles of traction and we look at the principles of the one thing by Keller, what's his name? Gary Keller. The why not question should allow you to answer what's your one thing. The why not question says, why can't I do that? What is the biggest hurdle to me getting that done? And you're going to have 5 or 6 hurdles, but what is the biggest linchpin to that happening? Okay? Well, if the only linchpin is I have a full-time job and don't have the time to dedicate to it, then you quit your job. Not stupidly, make your plans. If the only linchpin behind that is I don't have the private capital to make that happen, that becomes your one thing. That becomes your highest focus for that quarter is, for me to hit my BHAG, the thing that I as a business owner have identified as the largest obstacle in my way from that BHAG is capital, then you need to go study how to raise capital. And you need to go work with people that have done well with capital raising and figure that out. Because that is how you fix the problem. Now, the one thing by Gary Keller would look at it that way. The way that Traction looks at it, I think, is a more practical way. I think Gary Keller's book is a very good mindset book. I think you read Gary Keller's The One Thing, and then I think you read Traction through the lens of the one thing, but apply Traction principles, which Traction would say you pick 3 to 5 large projects every quarter that you are going to tackle, and you call them rocks. The analogy being, and this is from the Rockefeller way, the analogy being if you have a glass vase and you've got a bunch of big rocks, a bunch of stones, and a bunch of gravel, if you put the gravel in first and then you put the stones and then you put the rocks will not fit. But if the rocks are the crux of your company's success, then you focus first on the rocks and you put the rocks in. And then you put the stones in, and then you put the gravel, and guess what? Everything fits, right? But so there may be some gravel. The gravel that's left over is the stupid emails, the random phone calls, the stuff that can be dropped that is not the cornerstone linchpin to you actually hitting your BHAG. Because if you want to hit your BHAG, stuff is going to be failing. Stuff is going to fail. You are not going to be able to do everything. I promise you that. You are not going to be able to do everything on your to-do list. But if your thing that you allow to fail is a gravel item, then your company hits its BHAG. If your thing that you allow to fail is the rock, because I would rather respond to this email or this phone call because there's somebody else involved with it, and the rock is really me going off and doing something so somebody else is not hurt by this, so I'm going to ignore my rock and I'm going to do this stupid email. Well, guess what you did? Somebody else is not hurt by this is a big reason why people don't do rocks. And it's also a big indicator of you don't think of your company as a separate entity from yourself. Your company is the biggest somebody else that you must work for. I work for CreativeRealEstate.com. Creative Real Estate is not my company that does things for me. We created a company and I work for it. And I am held accountable to my board of directors. Maybe I'm the board of directors. Maybe there's more of them. Maybe it's me and Ronnie are the board of directors. But I do a job for that company and I need to not fail. And that rock is that big part of that, right? So we've identified what your one thing is that says, I don't think I can buy 3 houses this quarter, okay? Therefore, I don't think I can do it, and you're going to write these things down. I mean, I took pictures of it, and I started to post them on Facebook to show, like, hey, this is what it looks like, but then there was too much actual, like, internal data that I didn't want to share out. But, like, we took, for our business planning, I got an Airbnb. We were in the basement of this house in Michigan, and we took one of those, like, giant Post-it, like, they're like huge Post-it notes, and they were all over the wall with like numbers written out and crossed out and this, that, and the other and goals, because we looked at our BHAG, we backed into it, and then we pushed back out. And here's what we find, right? Our BHAG says we need to do this. That means we need to do this quarter. Well, I can't do that this quarter. It's not going to happen because according to my accountability chart, I just don't have the people for it. Or I don't have the money to fund the marketing that would go into buying me those houses, right? So then you push from here out. And now, the problem that I have with people doing business planning with, well, I'm just going to plan to do my best, is that there's no compass. If you don't have that BHAG, my best, you can just make it very achievable, but you're never going to hit what you want to actually hit. If you know that you're not hitting your BHAG because you backed into it, and now you have to say, well, what is my best? You've got a new lens to view this through that says, I better push the crap out of myself if I want to get there, and I'm nowhere close. So if I want 3 houses this month or this quarter, and I can't do it because I don't have the money to buy the houses, that's the most easy one that I can think of, then what do I have the money to buy? Okay. So maybe I can realistically commit to 1 house this quarter. Okay. I said that for me to be hitting my BHAG, in 5 years I need to have 60 houses, cash flowing $350 a month. If I can only do 1 house this quarter, that means I now have 57 months to buy 59 houses. So that adjusts your quarterly goal. Now you need to be ready to, by quarter 2, not do 1 house a month, but if you do 59 houses divided by 57 months, do you understand why I'm saying that?
Yeah, well, yes.
Then that means it has upped your goal, not by much because we're talking small numbers, but it has upped your goal. Maybe now you need to do 4 houses a quarter for the next however many.
Well, it's the same thing as like, hey, I want to buy a Lambo in 1 year. Okay, well, Lambo costs like what, $500,000? Okay, well, making $500,000 in a year to buy a car, well, is not advisable. It's kind of a stupid investment. Well, it's not an investment at all. But anyway, saying that means nothing. But then all you would do is take $500,000, divide by 365, or as Pam Goodwin pointed out, this is a leap year, so it's 366.
Nice.
It's about a little under $1,400 a day. So you have to make, if you want to buy a Lambo in a year's time, you have to make at least $1,400 a day solely to be able to buy that car in a year. Is that doable? Possibly.
Right.
Then you just got to figure out how many kidneys can you come up with in a day, every single day for a year.
Don't ask China that question. Political humor. So what you just saw there, again, I hope that this is an aha. And again, please encourage me if this is something that y'all want to know. Like pop some comments in there. I hope that this is impactful for you as it has been for me, because you should know that this, like, I got to Michigan Friday morning at 10, and we did not stop business planning until Monday night at midnight, and I had a flight out, which meant that I needed to wake up at 3 in the morning. The only break we took was dinner with his family, like 2 nights, and we went to church on Sunday morning and Sunday evening, right? Because it takes that kind of time. You look at your BHAG and you back it in, and then you see, like the example I just said, I can't do that this quarter. I can do 1 this quarter. So that means that I need to do 4 in Q2
you gotta make up
every time on, because I got to make up for the 2 that I couldn't do this quarter. Well, that question becomes, can I use this quarter to set my organization up in such a way that by the open of Q2, we are ready to buy 4 houses in that quarter? Okay? And if the answer to that question is no, again, why not? What is the problem that I have that I am unable to meet with that, and how can I fix that? And that becomes your quarterly rock and your one thing. But then you have to say, okay, I can't set my company up for Q2 of this year to do, let's say that just for the sake of premise and easy numbers, let's say that you had to buy 6 houses in Q2 in order to meet your BHAG, which means 2 a month. And you say in this quarter, so January, February, March, by the end of March, I would have to have an acquisitions guy in place, because these are the functions that need to happen in my company to get there. That's a big part of annual planning. These are the functions in my company that need to be successful. Gosh, I don't want to go too deep into this but you need to figure out what your functions are, what your accountability. Here's what I'll say. Read Traction,
learn how to create an accountability chart. That's going to be your homework. That is a crux of all of this. And then set an hour allotting time to like how much time each of these things will take on these functions so that you can accurately say, look, I've got 50 hours a week that I'm willing to put into this company. Can I, with 50 hours a week as a solopreneur, realistically set up to where by the end of March, I am ready to buy 2 houses a month? And if not, why not? Well, I can run everything, but I just don't have the time to answer the phones. If I had somebody answering the phones, then I would be able to run this, so you hire somebody to answer the phones.
I think the biggest thing there is not looking at a why not as a negative or something to be afraid of. To me, maybe it's like looking at a giant jigsaw puzzle, but the pieces just don't exist yet. And the why not is giving you clues to how to structure those non-existent jigsaw puzzles.
Yep.
Like, cause like the media thing I'm working on right now is like, I have a really cool idea of a way to structure this agency, blah, 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 but I ain't got no money if I had $1 million to just launch it, great.
Yeah.
But when there's no money to start something like that, then it's like, okay, well, that's the why not? You got no money. Okay, well, then just figure out these little pieces that could actually make it work.
Absolutely.
Or just give up.
So to wrap that up on this analyzing
Don't
give up.
I'm just saying.
Never gonna give you. That was me singing "Never Gonna Give You Up" to the tune of that old Motown song. Anyway, I just realized I mixed the two. So we've backed in, we've analyzed that, we've extrapolated out and said, I cannot do that this quarter. What can I do this quarter? What is the highest thing I can realistically do this quarter? And then I ran the numbers, right? With so let's say that it's so now in 4.5 years, I divide out what's left over from what I was unable to do this quarter, right? I divide that out and average it. Can I get that done in Q2? No. Okay. What about Q3? What can I do in Q2 to set up to where in Q3, when I re-average everything out over now, or I said 4.5, it would have been 4 3/4. Now 4.5 years, can I hit that number in Q3? So you keep doing that until you get to the quarter in which you are able to hit that number. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. When you get to that quarter in which you are able to hit that number, now you have figured out an accurate business model with accurate quarterly goals that you can look forward to in your business and saying, I am successful if this quarter I've bought 1 house and next quarter I've bought 2 houses and in the third quarter I've bought 4 houses, because that means that all the other stuff I've done in this first 3 quarters sets my company up to do the 9 houses a quarter that it's going to take for me to have 60 houses in my portfolio by month 60. Now, the flip side of that is hopefully you can do that. But if you get down to where, look, this is what I can do, and what will probably happen is, what can I do every quarter for this quarter? And maybe every quarter into the year 2, and then you start switching over into years. Well, okay, if I've done that for the first 8 quarters, and now I've done this for this year and this for that year, what can I do for year 3? What can I do for year 4? And what can I do for year 5? Right? That's kind of how you build, because you can't just, going on a quarterly basis 4 years out is unrealistic. But then if you find that you are just unable to get to a point where that BHAG makes sense, now you know, because you've been building the whole time to hit that BHAG, and you've been putting in the most you can possibly do to get to that BHAG, now you have a realistic BHAG. Now you can extrapolate out because you've gone forward based on that BHAG, and you're like, look, I thought I could get 30, but really, I can get 25. And now that is your 5-year revenue goal, and now you have your 1-year goal, your 3-year goal, your 5-year goal already made for you because you backed into your BHAG, you saw if that was possible. Can I do this first quarter? No. Then I re-average everything out for the next. Can I do it in second quarter? No. Then I re-average everything out into the next. Building your why not as your one thing and your rock item for each of these quarters to build that company. Boom. Guess what? You just built a business model, right? Now you actually have a business model that you need to put on paper, and that is when people ask you, what's your model? You're like, I buy houses,
It's not, I buy houses. It's, hey, I send this many postcards out a month assuming that I'm going to be able to convert at this level so that I can buy this many houses because I'm going to be because I'm going to be hiring these people in Q2, so I've got to be prepped with that, which means that in Q2 I need to be outlining my SOPs and my processes and automating what I can so that in Q3 I'm set up to, there's a business model.
And then if you're able to spout out like that, all of a sudden, hopefully the person you're talking to is like, do you need capital?
Yep.
And then you throw in, I'm always looking to place more capital.
Absolutely. So guys, this is big. This is a big deal for getting your business going. I know a lot of you may feel like, oh, well, that's corporate-y mumbo jumbo. Well, guess what? Coca-Cola didn't get that big by some guy saying, hey, I'm going to make a Coke company that is mine. And, you know, like if the guy who created Coke or Henry Ford thought about that company like so many of us think about real estate investing, it would have never grown like that. So I know it's corporate-y, but guess what? Corporate-y works, and you need to have those things in front of you. So I promised you I would give you some KPIs, some things that you can use when deciding, because part of, and we're titling this episode like buying more houses this year than you thought you could, throwing darts versus hitting bullseyes, right? Most of us, when we think about business goals, it feels like we're just throwing darts at a wall. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll pick a number off the, you know, that's what we did in segment 1. Okay, pick a number out of the air. But segment 2 and segment 3 let you know really what a bullseye is and really like trains you to figure out how you're going to hit that bullseye, right? But part of the challenge of hitting that bullseye is understanding like what can you or can you not expect to get from certain things. So here are some KPIs, some key performance indicators. Here are some things that you should be able to look at in your marketing to use as numbers to say, can I buy this many houses? Here's one of them. Nationally right now, the average that I see anecdotally, I don't have any kind of like real data to point to this other than I know a bunch of the guys that are in like the high-end masterminds like CG and Billionaire Boardroom and you know that kind of stuff and all you'll be, I mean, even the world is so small. Like we're always just one step removed from who you guys may think is like the biggest dude in the world. Well, he's best friends with Eddie Speed and I'm best friends with Eddie, right? Like it's just like you just kind of go through.
It's weird.
So from knowing all of these people, from knowing franchise owners, business owners, all that kind of stuff, here's what you can realistically look at for your marketing to close number, which I think is arguably one of the most important things because you have to be marketing, is that typically right now, the national average is somewhere in the $4,000 to $5,000 range in marketing per closing, okay? But that's kind of like saying that, you know, like you hear people run the stat of like, you know, real estate agents on average only buy one house or sell one house a year. Well, that's because there's a lot of real estate agents that are buying and selling 1 trillion houses, and there's a lot of real estate agents that got their license and never did anything with it, right? So that number's kind of influenced by that. The real solopreneur operators, guys that are like taking this seriously, the guys like here in Dallas, like the well, and actually, so let me preface this in saying that I don't actually know their numbers. This is not me exposing anything about them. I'm just using them as an example. But the guys like the Zach Coppingers, the Jacob Davenports, the Jason McDougals, you know, those kinds of guys that they have a company, but it's not huge. They're running it. They're doing, you know, a bunch of deals a year. They're doing more than most. You're usually looking at about $2,000 of marketing, $2,000 to $2,500 per marketing. In marketing per closing of a deal. Yeah. Then you get to the little bit larger guys, the Brandon Basics, the guys like, you know, that are doing hundreds of deals a year, who have to support the cost of staffing and all of that kind of stuff. You're typically looking at $3,000 to $3,400 a deal in marketing because there's more staff to pay for getting that done, right? It becomes more of a volume deal. That is a good number that you can use for marketing per closing, okay? So that's a real quick one to say, if I need to close 3 deals this quarter, do I have $6,000 to $10,000 to spend in marketing to get that done? Or if you're just starting, do I have $15,000 in marketing to get that done? Because you are going to be one of those people hitting the $5,000 closing.
And just because I brought it up earlier, if $15,000 is all you have for marketing, dear God, please split that up into 3 months.
Yep.
Don't do one go of $15,000.
Yep.
Do 5, 5, and 5.
You are much better with consistent marketing to the same person multiple times than you are with one marketing spend to a lot more people. Getting a lower list with higher touch rates is going to give you a bigger response. So that's absolutely great advice. Another piece of good advice, if you think about this, one of the tools that I had to use in our planning is we've got, when you're buying remotely, I don't know what y'all's models are. Our model is that we're buying remotely. We don't show up to any of the houses before we contract them at this point in time. Is that one acquisitions guy on the phone talking to motivated sellers, pre-qualified sellers, should be able to talk to about 20 people a day. Half of those are going to be new sellers. Half of those are going to be fostering relationships with people he talked to for the first time yesterday or the day before. And that one person should be able to contract 40-ish to 60-ish deals a month. A good negotiator in that role. More average as you're starting, you're looking at like 20 to 30. And if you're not hitting that, then you don't necessarily have the right person in that seat. And of those contracts that you get on a remote basis, a KPI to look at is that 50% of those contracts should probably cancel before closing. Because somebody will say, I'm using Raphael's example, somebody will say, yeah, we've got granite in the house. And what they mean is there's a little slab of granite leaning up against the wall in the house, right? Like, you just never know if your contract. So there's some good numbers for you to use in your business planning of, can I hit my BHAG? Well, my BHAG means I need to buy this many houses. Well, if I need to buy this many houses, that means I need to spend this much marketing and I need to have this much in revenue. Do I have that much in marketing right now to spend? And if not, what do I have in marketing to spend? And what does that mean I can do this quarter? Reanalyze and go. I think that it'll be great for your business. Overall, you are going to be able to buy way more houses by running your analysis and running your deals this way than if you just kind of try to fly by the seat of your pants and go.
And one thing I want to bring up, because we talked about a lot about goal setting, a lot of mindset, which was the overall arc of this whole show today, which was pretty long, but hopefully it's valuable. I think it is. I like it. Anyway, there's a difference between doing market research on your peers and playing comparison game. The comparison game is the death of entrepreneurs. Like, if Grant does something and I don't get the same results, you need to ask why not versus, oh shit, I didn't get the same results.
Yep.
You can do market research by looking at your peers, but don't let that distract you from going after the BHAG.
The BHAG.
The BHAG. Thank you.
Absolutely.
We've been saying it over and over and over. But, and again, what I mean by that is the comparison game will kill you as an entrepreneur. Use it as market research versus use it as a motivator versus whatever the detriment or whatever.
And again, that's the thing that I'm trying to get into everybody's head with this, is that I have recognized, like, my job as an educator is to recognize what are the things holding you guys back. One of the things that I've realized is holding most of the people back who watch these classes and go to education is that they forget to accept that you're a business owner. And business owners make their decisions for their business based on a model that they believe can work for their skills that they have.
Right.
You're not a franchise buyer. You are not buying something where watching these videos is giving you everything you need to go out and do that. We are giving you all the tools you need to make the decisions to get the most out of yourself.
The perfect example of that is, there's a guy or a gal that you follow on social media and they're making $300,000 per flip, and you're like, man, I can't even make 10. Well, if you live in a suburb of East Dallas and the person you're following is in Los Angeles, well, come on now.
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking about a multi-million-dollar house versus a $20,000 house or something.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that's what I meant by that.
I hope you guys took something away from this.
Yeah.
I think that we gave y'all a great way to go plan. And if you guys have not asked yourself these questions, I know it's really hard to pull yourself out of working in the business to work on the business. You need to spend 2 or 3 days in a coffee shop with your phone turned off, asking yourself these questions, because if you have no goal, you will burn out.
And my final thought on this whole thing is, you have to be honest with yourself. If you're not being honest with yourself with your goals and your why nots and your capabilities and what you can do, all you're doing is just dreaming. And there's a difference between dreaming and having a big ass, hairy,
audacious goal.
Now I can't think of it. But anyway,
That's awesome. All right, guys. So don't forget, like I said, I've got 2 seats open for this weekend. If you are curious, if you feel like your one thing is that your marketing is not converting well enough, then you need to seriously consider looking at creativecashflow.com/memberships. My calendar is frankly built and full. So if you clicked to do an appointment, it's not going to let you do an appointment with me before this weekend. Talk to my chat person. I do have a chat agent there. Leave them your name and phone number, and we will make sure that we get you set up with an interview in time for this weekend. So check out creativecashflow.com/memberships. We got 2 seats open for you to learn everything that we're doing on our marketing and our conversion, because we are going into operations of conversion of those deals. Don't forget to go to Propelio.com. Check them out. They got a free trial. They're an amazing piece of software for you. And if you feel like your one thing is education, check out Propelio.com/academy. The Propelio Academy gives away more information than you can shake a stick at. I mean, it is incredible, the talent of people, the quality of people that are going in there and just opening up their business model to you to help you get to that next level. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode today. Don't forget to ask questions. Don't forget to comment, like, share, all that kind of fun stuff. I will not be here next week, but I believe Daniel will be. Hopefully, we'll see. Otherwise, I'll see you the next time that I'm here. Thank you guys for joining us so much, and we'll see you next time.
bye.